Okay, it is Wednesday, May 19th. And first of all, Megan, you looked kind of human today. Like, I think that's the most human you've looked all year. Um, and I forgot yesterday to talk about the aliens, because I do believe that, and have said for decades that the aliens are already here. They live among us. Um, I realize they're supposed to be smarter and a higher life form, but I think maybe they could be part of the MAGA crowd. I'm not sure. Um, but whatever it is, I'm confident they're already here. Um, anyway, today we started to talk about the terrorist attack on the Capitol on January 6th. And I was surprised you just gleefully and willingly said, "Oh, I agree with Lisa Murkowski that there needs to be an investigation," because a couple weeks ago, during some of these congressional hearings, you got all up in arms and angry about, we don't need to relitigate this, and you went off on some tangent about, I think it was you wanted to talk about all the terrible things that Joe Biden is doing. I think was your distraction at the moment, but we didn't need to relitigate the insurrection at the Capitol, and which is laughable because it hasn't been litigated yet. I mean, that's the process that we're going through right now. So now, okay, now fine, you don't have something else to complain about or to distract about. You do believe this is a good idea. Or maybe, because some other Republican said it, you decided to agree with it. I don't know. But so investigate it, and you miraculously do see a difference between looting a Target and attacking the Capitol and trying to prevent a democratic process from happening. So, kudos on that point. But then you got into, what's the root of all this, and why do people believe this, all this nonsense? And you came up with some example of someone who started out as a fan of yours and ended up in as an insurrectionist. And, I would think that would give you some moment to pause and think about your role in it. Part of the problem, and you want to go after this whole, misinformation campaign, and part of the problem is you and all of your, Fox News conservative bullshit talking points that want to make big deals out of nothing. For 4 fucking days, you were like, gas prices, we're out of gas. That wasn't an issue. That was just not, like, it was a temporary thing that happened to a private company in part of the country. And you were like, it's 1979, Jimmy Carter. People listen to all that bullshit, right? And they believe you, and they repeat it. And then somebody else goes up another step further, and then somebody goes another step further, and they just follow themselves down the misinformation hole. You're just the first step on the ladder. So maybe you should stop doing that if you want to, really combat the misinformation chain. Is stop being a link in it. Dum dum. Hi. Then, what did we talk about next? Oh, God. I can't believe you actually got it as a hot topic subject. Hot vax summer. Which, and I think I said this yesterday, the day before, you want to call it shot girl summer. I knew you just wanted to go out and get loaded on shots at Flavortown. Some sort of bullshit, sex on the beach. I would think that you are like a bartender's or a server's worst nightmare. Demanding, but you think you're really fun, and you're overly friendly, but kind of mean, causing chaos, have zero appreciation for the actual service you're getting. I don't know what kind of tipper you'd be, but anyway. The good news is you declared the pandemic's over. You just said this is over, which is, for a lot of people, it isn't. for most of the world, it isn't. Um, you know, I don't know how many immunocompromised friends you have, but there's still a big danger going on. So, it might be over for you because you've decided it is. But again, just because it's happening to you doesn't mean it's happening to everybody else. And just because everybody else has something that's going on, you decide that because it isn't happening to you, it isn't happening at all. Dum dum. So yeah, you're gonna wear your vaccinated trucker hat everywhere you go, which in itself isn't that, like now you're advertising the fact that you're vaccinated. So what would be the problem with carrying an actual vaccination card or proof of vaccination like the Excelsior Pass in New York on your phone? If you're just gonna go around with a big label strapped on your forehead that says vaccinated, you're volunteering to do that, then what would be the harm in having an actual passport that came from your medical record? Those little cards, those little paper cards, are just a representation of something that happened in your medical record, and the medical record itself can get linked to an identification. But you just want to put it in pink glitter on your hat. And yes, the Roaring Twenties did happen after the Spanish flu outbreak, but the Spanish flu outbreak happened right on the heels of World War I. It's a lot of bullshit happening. When did the Great Depression happen? I think there's a lot going on. I don't think that this is going to turn into, Roaring Twenties Part 2, because this pandemic isn't over yet. It apparently is just for you. And then, and I guess, all the Republicans who chose to ignore it and the ones who decided it was a hoax to begin with. Then you punt on talking about grandparents' interference with raising their grandchildren. Because when your daughter was born, you're the captain now. And then you say, I don't know, my dad's dead, so that makes this more complicated. Actually, it doesn't. If we're talking about grandparental influence and interference, having less grandparents takes that problem away. So it's not more complicated, it's less complicated. But you didn't think about the topic at hand. You just thought it's more complicated for you emotionally to discuss it. Because again, it just revolves. Ooh, I just hit myself in the face. Just revolves around you. Anyway, I had a friend who always used to do that. And she would use her own name, but I'll just use yours. It'd be Megan, the universe. So yeah, and then you say, I don't like talking about parental stuff. It's boring. You're such a child. That's the answer that someone gives when they don't have an intelligent thought because they haven't actually thought about it. And it's weird as a new parent that you don't want to talk about parenting, because usually new parents are really into that. And it's, a huge learning experience for them, and it's a whole emotional growth period. But I think you've skipped all that. Do you have a nanny or like two nannies? Yeah. And then you literally yawned in the middle of the segment. Well, I think Whoopi was talking, which is very rude. You're the only one on that program whoever, when a topic comes up, says, I don't want to talk about this. You're like the annoying one in the group. It's like, let's talk about the Kardashians. Well, that's not what the topic is. Talking about grandparental interference. Just, you always espouse how much you love to talk. So talk about it. You have an experience. You have had grandparents, and your mother, and I don't know what Ben's family deal is, if his parents are alive or not, but At least you're a mother as a grandparent. You know what grandparents are. You should have an opinion about whether or not they should be, interfering with parenting. But I guess it was just boring to you. So you didn't want to talk about it. Okay. All right. Maybe tomorrow you'll also look human, but still not make any sense.